And here we go.
Oh, let me see, continue. Well, welcome everyone. It is a pleasure to be here with us and collaborating with Susan and the Family Focus Family Center. And I want to just let you know a little bit about me. Like Teresa already says, Celina Aguilar, and I am with Developing Mindful Lives and the That Parent. We are an organization that our mission is to work in collaboration with families and their children to transform their life. So I welcome you to visit our website that I will be sending later for anyone who may want to visit us. I also want to share with you that we have a center-based program that is located in Mission Hills. So we welcome you to visit at any time. I will be sending Teresa that information as well. Well, today, like Teresa was saying, let's get started. We have great information about social emotional development. So let me share my screen here and want to make sure that, let's see, slideshow here. The technical things over here really quick. One moment. Can you see it well, Teresa?
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so here we go. Well, I was thinking how we can, get started to reflect together about the importance of social emotional development. And I thought about sharing the 6 life skills children need. And, you know, each one of you might come from a different background, experience, knowledge, skills. And I think no matter what, we really need to honor the way that children need us as parents, educators, you name it. And I want to start with the first one that is attachment. Attachment is one of the most essential components when you think about social emotional development because children don't learn when they don't have a connection or a relationship. And I love how even the National Association for the Education of Young Children has already stated that children learn when they have a connection. Same thing on the way that they're going to be regulating themselves. So even though that you are the parent or you might be the educator, we need to look at the attachment in the form of how this relationship is meaningful. And it's not meaningful just because I am creating the relationship, but it turns into a meaningful relationship when we are including the child's temperament, learning styles, their needs. So that makes it, a meaningful relationship. The other one that I want to talk about it is sense of belonging. How many of you have experienced that you go into a place or a party or, I don't know, any place that you say, sorry, I don't belong here. And it's an awkward feeling, right? So imagine for children. Children need to develop the sense of belonging, that they really belong to that home, to that environment, to that daycare. Doesn't matter where the child is. We really need to work to make sure that they have that sense that they belong. And there's many strategies to work on that. Unfortunately, today we're not going to be able to cover each one of these, but I was reflecting with Teresa that I will be more than happy to continue sharing more specifics. But I think today, just having the awareness of the important components, right? And sense of belonging is one of them, to really know that we belong. In fact, in daycares or in preschools or in any center, is recommended to have some representation of the child's identity in many shapes and forms, or even in your own family. How are you really making your child feel that he belongs because you are in acceptance of his personality, his temperament, his learning style, rather than don't do this or, don't cry. When we are in those don'ts, we are not really accepting the child. And there's ways to learn, more positive ways to welcome those children from who they are and to really give them that sense that you belong here, you belong to this family. The other one is the self-regulation. When it comes to social emotional development, children need to uh, have the ability to regulate themselves. Now, some of them might face the challenge because of different developmental reasons that they might not be able to regulate themselves. Could be due to a sensory issue or behavior or biological things. But the important thing is knowing that there's specific strategies to help children to regulate. And some of them do it automatically. Some of them, they need a little push. But that's the key, that we know that self-regulation is important and that children are not going to be learning if they are not in a calm state. Nobody learns when we are under any stress. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that. I want to show you more about brain development, but I want to make you aware of the importance of creating that space for the child to be regulated, to accept them, and to, again, support them with different ways. You know, one of them, just mentioning, is to regulate, for instance, through an exercise that is called smelling a flower and blowing a candle. You know, when we do, and then we blow the candle, automatically we are, you know, regulating our blood pressure, just to give an example. And again, there's many strategies. The most important thing is to be aware that self-regulation is critical to build healthy relationships, to build healthy social emotional development, to support their self-esteem, and moreover, to provide the foundation for a meaningful learning experiences. The other aspect is security. Children need to trust us as parents. Children need to trust their caregiver, and that's why it's so important continuity of care. I know sometimes as parents, we face the challenge that we need to move from one place to another, or from one daycare to another, or from one caregiver to another. But the recommendation is from 0 to 3, try to be, you know, not to be bouncing from one provider to another, or not from another caregiver, because this is an essential critical stage for precisely the attachment, the sense of belonging, the formation of the identity. They need to trust. And for that, we need stability and consistency. That's why it's critical to have continuity of care. And the other aspect, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about that, because even within our own homes, we sometimes sabotage our own ability to be stable or consistency. You know, if I feel, you know, in a mood, I will apply rules and expectations on Monday, but because I am so tired by Wednesday, I don't do it. So children get confused. We need to demonstrate that there is a consistency, and it's critical for the children to trust that is predictable, that is, they can anticipate in their routine, in the transition. Nothing is a surprise. So that's why it's so important. The other aspect is contribution and collaboration. Children come with their own talents. They come with their unique way to contribute to the world. And it's not about us shaping them or trying to fix them. They contribute with their own talent. And I think here is the opportunity for parents and educators to recognize that and make them aware about their achievements, not through the good job that we're going to be talking about it, but beyond that, to really make them aware about their accomplishments through descriptive praise, so they can really boost their social emotional development and have a healthy self-esteem. And collaboration, as we already know, we learn through collaboration. Teresa was reflecting about how they collaborate with the vendors. Collaboration is the key to create healthier and harmonious group. Parenting, educators, families, to, you know, in any work team, we need the collaboration. We learn better when we collaborate with each other. And children, here we go, they learn through their peers. Not necessarily they need to be in a formal, educational experience. Can be at home with cousins, with their brothers and sisters, or even with yourself, but we need to create that collaboration. And finally, adaptability, right? Children need our support in the time of 0 to 3, when they are working on their synapses, they're connecting all their neurons, And this is a critical time. 80% of the synapses happen between 0 to 3, and then, of course, up to 5. And the knowledge, skills, and values get to form during this time. I'm sure you have heard the first 5 years of life so important and critical, and that's the reason, because it's a critical process in our brain at that moment. Millions of neurons are being able to connect, and here it is, what is called early intervention that can make a difference. So with that in mind, I want to show you a short video that can give you a reference about the importance of brain development and really supporting healthy brains. And then we're going to be talking about some of the what I call strategies of plan of action to continue this. So I think, let me see if I can click here, that it will take me directly here. Hold on, maybe not the best way to do it here. Let me see. Oh, maybe that's, hold on. And you can, I'm gonna give you this later, this link, so you can see it. Can you hear it, Teresa? Let me just make sure that it's right there.
I can hear it, but not see anything.
Okay, so then let me do it differently. I am going to tap sharing this way, and I'm gonna just share again the video. So thank you for your patience here. Let me try it differently. Can you see now?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Oh, you know what? Let me make sure that I'm saying share with those boxes. They are, okay. Thank you.
Science tells us that the experiences we have in the first years of our lives actually affect the physical architecture of the developing brain. This means that brains aren't just born, they're also built over time based on our experiences. Just as a house needs a sturdy foundation to support the walls and roof, a brain needs a good base to support all future development. Positive interactions between young children and their caregivers literally build the architecture of the developing brain. Building a sturdy foundation in the earliest years provides a good base for a lifetime of good mental function and better overall health. So just how is a solid brain foundation built and maintained in a developing child? One way is through what brain experts call serve and return interactions. Imagine a tennis match between a caregiver and a child, but instead of hitting a ball back and forth across a net, various forms of communication pass between the two. From eye contact to touch, from singing to simple games like peekaboo. These interactions, repeated throughout a young person's developing years, are the bricks that build a healthy foundation for all future development. But another kind of childhood experience shapes brain development too, and that's stress. Good kinds of stress, like meeting new people or studying for a test, are healthy for development because they prepare kids to cope with future challenges. Another kind of stress, called toxic stress, is bad for brain development. If a child is exposed to serious, ongoing hardships like abuse and neglect to provide support, the basic structures of his developing brain may be damaged. Without a sturdy foundation to properly support future development, he is at risk for a lifetime of health problems, development issues, even addiction. It's possible to fix some of the damage of toxic stress later on, but it's easier, more effective, and less expensive to build solid brain architecture in the first place. One of the things that sturdy brain architecture supports is the development of basic emotional and social skills, an important group of skills which scientists call executive function and self-regulation can be thought of like air traffic control in the child's mental airspace. Think of a young child's brain as the control tower at a busy airport. All those planes landing and taking off and all of the support systems on the ground simultaneously demand the controller's attention to avoid a crash. It's the same with a young child learning to pay attention, plan ahead and remember, and follow lots of rules. Like all of us, kids have to react to things happening in the world around them, while also dealing with worries, temptations, and obligations on their minds. As these demands for attention pile up, air traffic control helps a child regulate the flow of information, prioritize tasks, and above all, find ways to manage stress and avoid mental collisions along the way. Having this ability is a necessity for positive and level mental health. Developing effective air traffic control, overcoming toxic stress, and building solid brain architecture are things kids can't do on their own. And since strong societies are made up of healthy, contributing individuals, it's up to us as a community to make sure all young people have the kinds of nurturing experiences they need for positive development. To build better futures, we need to build better brains.
Oops. Okay, so I hope that this video is bringing the awareness, something that you might already know, but it's a reminder. Every time that I see this video, I cannot refrain from thinking about the story of the three little pigs, right? Because when you think about the foundation, and we have an opportunity to build a foundation or a house made out of hay, made out of wood, or made out of bricks. And I think that analogy can help us to say, what kind of parent I am? Am I bringing hay? Am I bringing wood? Am I bringing bricks to make a difference in our children's life? And I am the kind of person that I love analogies, and it helps me to really embrace anything that I'm learning. But I hope that this inspires you to say, hey, how can I reframe my family experience so my children can benefit of having a good start, a strong foundation? So with that in mind, let me go back to sharing my other screen to continue looking at this. So let me see. So I was mentioning that it is easy to listen to all of these things, or might be complicated, but the thing is how we can have a plan of action. And one of the three things that I would like to recommend is, first, avoid stress and adverse childhood experiences. I know that, in fact, after being exposed to such a tremendous adversity that was COVID, maybe some of you were impacted, some of you less or more, but in reality, we were all impacted at some level, among many other adversities. But I want you to think about how you can transform your own home experiences through knowing that, hey, I know I am aware of the worst enemy for brain development is stress. So how can you at least reduce some of the things that you can adjust? Sometimes, as simple as human beings, we might be reacting to something in the car and, and blah, blah, blah. So that's an opportunity to say, you know what? I'm going to just breathe in, and I'm not going to role model that can trigger me and activate my reactive mode. Or sometimes at home, we might be upset about our significant other, mother, husband, wife, children, and then we explode, we react, right? We're going to be talking about reacting from this part of the brain where we have the self-regulation, the amygdala, the hippocampus, and this part of the brain that is the executive brain that is responsible for reasoning. So when we are at that capability to be aware that you can respond or you can react, then you start being in control of your own self. To say, I have two choices as a human being. I can react and let myself, and my ego get engaged with the moment, or I can respond out of my mindfulness and my ability to just cope with that experience. And that's what we need to show children, that there's ways in which we can cope with adversity, not reacting, with those simple examples. In the car, when we are at home, rather than having the conflict in front of them, make an effort to say, this is not a conversation that I want to have in front of my 3-year-old, my 5-year-old, or even teenagers, because this is, between you and your significant other. So again, there's many ways that we can avoid the adverse childhood experiences by making adjustments. We also need to optimize the critical time for brain development. As you already listened through this video, it is critical, 0 to 5. There's a lot of things happening in the language part, the sensory aspect, the cognitive, how children are developing critical thinking skills. How are they learning to relate to each other? How are they learning to trust each other? So the skills that I was mentioning at the beginning, here is where we are. We have the opportunity to have a menu and to say, what do I want to bring to the table for my child and how I can role model each one of them. And there's many ways. And here we are to support you, and in different organizations that are willing to do that, to support you and take you hand to hand in the journey or on the journey of being a parent. And the last recommendation is activating the knowledge of the upstairs brain and downstairs brain that I want to share more about it. I love how Daniel Siegel, one of the well-known contributors to early childhood education, he talks about this upstairs brain and downstairs brain. And the reason why he shares this way is because if you would have kind of put a box here and we put a line here, this is a building, and what takes place here upstairs and what takes place here downstairs. And I love the analogy to say, when we visit somebody that lives in a two-story house, we don't jump to the second floor, right? We usually knock at the first floor. Well, that's exactly what happens to our brain. Sometimes we're trying to tell our child, don't cry, be nice, be kind, some phrases that are not effective anymore based on the new studies of social emotional development, or just trying to calm them down by talking with them or even talking to them sometimes. And it's not going to work because the downstairs brain function is first to regulate the blood pressure, anything that is happening at the moment, being able to put ourselves together to decrease the level of cortisol and really be able to listen. So when we're trying to talk, it's almost like we're trying to jump to the second floor. So the recommendation is, and we're going to just review a few ideas here, is to really start with the downstairs brain. Here is what is called the amygdalas and the hippocampus. And the hippocampus is kind of the storage room, right? That's where we keep all of our memories and what trigger us, what can be a way to engage with a situation, responding or reacting. And the amygdala regulates the emotions along with the whole nerve system supporting the way to regulate. So we're going to be learning through a way to do it with our hand to remind us how to do this. But the question is,
yes. I have someone that wanted to know the name of the video that you just played.
Yes, it's called Brain Builders, and I will be sending that through the PowerPoint handout that you were requesting. Brain Builders. Hold on, let me make sure that I am giving you the the right name of the building. I mean, it's, yeah, Brain Builders.
I'll put it in the chat box as well, but yes,
yeah,
the PowerPoint will be available.
And we will do it right, and they can Google it. So, but again, here is, we need to look at the evidence, right? Because sometimes we might say, oh, I am a very positive parent, or I am a very proactive educator. But the thing is, sometimes, we can talk and we can think that we are making some changes, but in reality, the evidence speaks louder or different in a way that is not supporting what we think that we're doing. So imagine if your child will be able to have a conversation with you, even if they're not verbal, or as an educator. Imagine those children coming to you as a provider, as a teacher, and to really have the opportunity to hear that child. Are we ready to respond to this? Imagine if the child says, do you know me? Do you really know who I am, my temperament, my learning styles, my needs? Do you know that I don't like to take a nap this way? Do you know that I don't like to eat that? Do you know that I don't enjoy, this time or this routine? I prefer this. So you name it. The thing is, do we know that child? Do you hear me? How many times we are so concentrated in our devices nowadays, and we are, yes, I know, just put it over there, please. Yeah, I hear, I'm telling you, and we are not really hearing them. We are not connecting and listening to them. And remember, brain development, the brain, whoops, right away starts developing this belief about, I'm not good enough. I'm not important enough. And believe it or not, these are very dangerous beliefs for children to have, because if they're not equipped emotionally to cope with that, they're going to deal with these beliefs as teenagers, as young adults, and that is what really affects this to have a healthy social emotional development. So make sure that we are, children are being seen, children are being heard, that they can trust us. And the whole thing about, do you let me fly? Or you're constantly, don't touch it, don't do it that way. Let me tell you how to do it. Interesting enough, I sometimes observe children coming with the parents and with a sippy cup or something and says, and the parents are away, okay, here, open. Oh yes, and we keep the conversation. And the child, of course, is gonna be happy. We solve a problem for them at the moment. But the question is, did we empower that child? Did we support the capability of the child? Did we support his independent skills by opening, or rather taking the time to say, how can I help you, right? And this reminds me that sometimes our approach is, what's wrong? And when you think about that phrase, what's wrong? Automatically, we're implying that something is wrong. I really encourage you to start changing that by saying, how can I help you? And to really allow the opportunities for the children to become independent or to explore. If you need to say that many times, don't do this, don't touch that, could be at the center setting or at the home setting. The question is for you. How can I change the environment so my child can fly through this, right? In an analogy or in a form to say how we can help them to do that. So the thing is, how are we accountable for that? So let me take you to this. I would like to invite you right now at this moment. If everybody can put your hand like this, please. If you do this right now. And the reason why it's important to sometimes just do it physically is because that stays better in our brain. This is a model, the one that I was telling you from Daniel Siegel. And you can Google him as well and see many of his videos and information. But I want you to think about this. This is the model that he shares. This is the upstairs brain. Here is where everything, our thinking skills take place, our ability to reason. So when something is triggering us, we start reacting. Oh, what are you saying? Or, oh, he took my toy away. Or, oh, how many times I have told you that? So the thing is that we are allowing ourselves to react, and we are exposing, right, our emotions in our nerve system, and boom, here is where we react. Children react hitting, throwing a tantrum. We sometimes react doing the same things. But the thing is, knowing this, and this is the representation of the connection with the nerve system, the stem brain, and here we are, right, flowing. So if we are in the position to say, oof, that is triggering, that is, so then with those strategies that you can learn is like a one by one, bringing that stress down. And there's so many strategies to help children to regulate themselves. As I was mentioning, some of them is, let me tell you, no matter from where we are, what part of the world we are, what is the very first recommendation to be able to calm ourselves down? Right, I'm sure that many of you says, breathing, right? Yes, breathing is one of the most powerful things to help our stress regulate, because the blood pressure that is, boiling at the moment, by breathing, help us to regulate. That's why it's so important, right now, that yoga is being incorporated in mindfulness at a very early age. So I'm glad to know that parents and, providers, teachers are more aware about this, because it is extremely important that children know that they have access to their own self to regulate those moments or those feelings at the moment. So with this in mind, right, when you think about, what else can help to regulate? Again, think about, breathing smelling the flower and blowing the candle. You can go to the 99-cent store, get a flower, get one of those candles, or even just have a picture. You can name it. You can also pretend that you're blowing a balloon, and you can say, hey, let's pretend that we're blowing a balloon, and right? Because with children, we cannot tell them, let's count to 3, let's do the yoga thing, let's breathe, and they're not going to respond sometimes. But if we do it in a way that is proactive and interactive, we will increase the cooperation. So there's many ways to do it. And of course, doing some exercise at the moment, rolling their hands. In fact, try it right now. Some of you might need some regulation right now. So if you do this, or you just do this and you move your hands and stretch, and roll your shoulders, that can help you. But it will be great later to have more opportunities in which we can share more of those strategies. So, and maybe at the end, we can talk more about this. But the thing, again, is being able to build a stable and consistent environment. Imagine, as parents, we don't have a contract as you might have it at your workplace. But imagine if you would have this contract with your child, and your child is requesting that you are a stable parent and a consistent parent. And when I'm talking about stable, I'm not talking that you need to be stable financially or anything. It's more stable in a way that children can predict our actions. That is not a surprise. And that's why it's so important and recommended every time that you're changing from one event to another. In the morning, when your child wakes up, is waking up, to say, in 5 more minutes, we're going to wash your face. In 10 more minutes, we're going to go to your grandma, or we're going to go to your daycare. You're going to be see your teacher, or we're going to be cleaning. Anything needs a transition, because that's how the brain connects with associations that we have about routines, beliefs, anything that is right there for children learning to learn. And children need predictions. We cannot just say, okay, we're leaving, we're gone. We all need predictions. Imagine, or anticipation and transitions, I would say. Imagine if you would not know at what time this workshop is going to end. Some of you might be like, really? I don't know at what time she's going to be done. And, we start creating this anxiety because we don't know. And that's exactly what happens to children. They go into their anxiety because they don't know what's happening next. So having a consistent routine, it really helps your child to regulate. Some of the children even need visual transitions. I will highly recommend. You can put it on your wall with pictures or even with symbols, but your child can be interactive with the routine, even if he's not talking, even if it's only 12 months. Those visual works for children. So that's highly recommended. So let me just now share one of the strategies that I would like to bring into your awareness on how to deal with challenging behaviors, because that's the idea today, right? To connect all of these pieces within the social emotional development aspect. Now, you might be aware, or maybe this might be new, but one strategy is what is called ACT, and it comes from Dr. Beckley, and is the ability to acknowledge feelings and needs. I think sometimes we tend to react because we come from a background, cultural background, or personal beliefs, in which I just react to say, children shouldn't be doing that. So for that reason, I need to just make my point. But remember, and this is a very important rule, when we accept something, we don't have to be in agreement. And the healthiest thing sometimes will be to agree to disagree. But when it comes to your child, of course, you're not going to agree that he's hitting someone, that he's throwing you things, or any behavior or any defiant behavior at the moment that you may say, no, this is not okay with me and my family. And that's perfectly fine. But there's ways to communicate this. So by saying, don't, stop, how many times I have told you, don't do it, is not going to work. Because again, we need to think about brain development and how the executive brain is not ready to receive that information. So the very first thing that we need to do, remember, is really regulating first before thinking. So we need to just accept those feelings. accept that our child is angry. But when it comes to validation, depending on your child's temperament, we're not going to come and say, I see that you're really upset. I see that you're really angry, right? That interaction might not be effective because your child's temperament is very different. Sometimes you will have to be very animated, compete with those characters that are on TV, right? Sometimes you might say, oh, I see that you're so angry and you feel like punching somebody, you feel like throwing. I mean, become that like a Hulk, right? Like you can really project those feelings. You will be surprised how children will look at you like, okay, okay. Why? Because we are really in tune with what is happening at the moment. And then is when you can communicate the expectations. After you have acknowledged that feeling to say, I see that you're really angry, or I see that you're so sad because you cannot have that toy, or because I cannot get you that. Project the feeling. You don't be shy. Children need us as their coaches. We are their emotional coaches, and we need to really project that. In fact, we can even start naming those emotions, right? When we are describing, I see that you're throwing that. Look at the way that you're hitting your friend. Look at your way you're pulling her, or look at you hit me. That really hurt me, but I can see why you're so frustrated. It's just being able to connect with your child's emotion, not to agree with the behavior. But then here is the second step, that when we're thinking about, okay, let me now, at that moment when I am already at least in better collaboration with your brain and your ability to regulate yourself and to feel like you are in a safe place to exercise those emotional muscles, right? Because our home, our daycares, our centers should be a safe place for children to come and stretch those emotional muscles. Where else they can learn? And here we are to provide guidance for those behaviors. So here is the opportunity after that to say, you know, gentle hands. You can say, hey, I want that, or whatever is the situation. Um, you know, help them with the words to say, I want my turn. Sometimes we used to use in child development to say, use your words. Well, personally, I don't think that no longer is that effective, because some children might say, what words? I don't have any words, or I don't even know what words you want me to use. So it's better to really role model the words. Just say, help please, or mommy, angry, even just using some single words, or help them to identify the need. What was the reason for them to be angry? But don't give them a long speech that they're not able to even process at the moment. Try to make it simple, right? To say, gentle hands, fit for running. Toys are for putting them like this. You can say, I'm hungry again. So there's ways to learn about this. And I hope that those examples will at least motivate you to learn more about it. And finally, to target logical consequences. It is important that children know that they're not going to be punished for their behavior, because then they will not trust us as the provider, the parent, the teacher. We really need to be there to say that the behavior is not going to be accepted, in agreement, but it's going to be accepted. So again, I'm going to repeat the difference, right? I can accept that you are angry and that you're throwing and that you're doing your thing, but I am not going to be in agreement that you hurt somebody, that you're going to be disrespectful to somebody, that you're going to break this toy, whatever is the behavior. But it's not about punishing them and to say, time out and you're done and I don't want to see you. It's about timing. It's about what is the logical consequence. If your child hits someone, the logical consequence is to promote the responsibility of empathy. Helping your child to say, let's make sure that your friend is okay. Or if they were throwing something, the logical consequence is, well, toys are for playing, not for throwing. We're going to pick them up and put them away. So the logical consequence needs to be related to the action. It's not a punishment for not being able to perform. So again, let's just be more mindful on the way that we're going to present solutions to children. For instance, the classic thing, right? The child is, you might want to say, or I have heard, I am going to take you to the park, or we will go to McDonald's, or we're going to go wherever you're going after cleaning, or if you don't hit. So we are conditioning the child to something, and it's not a positive way to do it, because we're not really forming the self-esteem in a way that he's going to be responsible later. We are conditioning the child to get a prize, to get a reward, but not really that they want to change the behavior. Is what they're looking is the reward. And sometimes what happens? The parent or the teacher get upset and they say, well, you didn't, so I'm not going to give it to you. So here is the trust broken again. It's not about, seeing child failing on their behavior. It's more about contributing, describing and naming their behavior so they can have a better understanding about their own feelings and needs, so they can really then develop a healthier self-esteem. So with this in mind, now let's reflect about what is the typical way that we praise children, right? And I don't know if some of you feel that you want to participate, writing something in the chat, and Teresa can help us to read that. But what is the typical way? And what I have heard is the typical way is that we say, good job, you did it, fantastic, you are amazing. And it's nothing wrong, or you will not harm the child by saying that, but it's not effective if you really want to support a healthy social emotional development and a strong self-esteem. And the reason why is because when we are saying good job, we are praising the person, not the effort. And it's a difference. And I'm going to show you just a short video clip in a moment to share about that. Why not? So Aficon says there's 5 good reasons about why not saying good job. First is manipulation. And I know, because I have worked with parents for so many years, more than 20 years, and I know that there's no intention to manipulate maybe the child, but not knowing, take you to that place of manipulating. So when we're saying good job, it's almost like you are training your child to please you. Same thing with educators. We are conditioning the child to please us. We create codependence. So they come and look for that little star, or they come, to hear, yes, good job. But later on, guess what? Because I have the opportunity to work with young teenagers. And it's so interesting that when parents say, I'm going to take your cell phone away, some teenager says, well, take it away. I don't care, because I'm going to get my own. Why? Because they didn't work with the core values. They were creating a codependence of manipulating. And when the child turns into a young adult, no longer we can control that. So that's why it's so important to work with the core values rather than just creating the codependence for the moment, because we wanted to fix that behavior at the moment. And that is still a pressure too. They have investigated children who are exposed to the good job and children that are exposed to describing their achievements. So instead of good job, to really point out what is exactly what they're achieving. Instead of saying good job, well, if you want to say good job, describe what is a good job about it. Wow, you really clean this. Thank you so much. Or you are so helpful by putting things away. That really tells me that you care about me. Or thank you for helping your friend. That was very empathetic to that. So we need to give them examples about what is it that they are achieving. Or if they are running and you say, walking feet, let's not run. And if your child listen to that, to say thank you. You were really respectful. You were listening to what I asked. So in that way, we are forming their core values in a deeper way, rather than just conditioning them to hear good things about the person. So again, it's nothing wrong to say, terrific, fantastic. But please, if you're going to do that, then describe what is the fantastic thing about it. Because sometimes children later, as an adult, talking about brain development, if they want to recall, do I have the confidence to do this? And the brain is going to run the data about the self-esteem, and they might have this information, good job about this, good job about that. And the child is like, I mean, not the child anymore, is the adult, is thinking, I don't feel confident. That's why some of us, we don't feel confident when we are at any experience in which we say, oh, not really, right? Because we don't have enough evidence. So imagine if you would have the description of what you achieved. So I really invite you to, if you're going to use fabulous, great, amazing, describe what knowledge, what skill, what value they are achieving. So children then will not lose interest, and they will not look for that motivation. So that's why it's so important to reframe the way that we're going to praise children. So let's look into that. We usually praise the person, right? So now we're going to be learning to praise the effort. In psychology, it's also known as unconditional positive regard. And here is an example of that. So let me just, I'm gonna, let me know if this
Ready to paint. Paper. Put the paper right there. Here, you're gonna turn. We're gonna spread the paper like this.
I'm gonna use it to the place that I.
Both hands like this. All the way. Now lift it to see how does it.
Okay, so I want to show you this video clip. This is in a school setting, but it doesn't matter. It can be at your house. It can be at any place. What I want you to notice is that I'm not using the good job, and I will try to give him as much information at the moment that he accomplished something. So let me just play it again.
Look it. Oh, wow. Look at what you have created. All those blue dots. And you have that? Thank you for sharing that picture with me. Look at what you created. The bubbles, the blue bubbles. All of them are bright. Mommy. Wow, you work hard on this. Where would you like to put your artwork? Where would you like to put it?
Right here.
Right there on the wall. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so as simple as that, right? When we are thinking about, I could have just said good job, but I made him aware about what he did, that he was putting blue dots, and even I am giving information about the cognitive aspect that he's using blue, but also I'm saying, you work hard on this, right? And if we would have had more time, you could even add it to say, you were really creative by the way that you put those shapes, or I noticed that you were very attentive, whatever, in terms of knowledge, skills, and values that you may want to use at the moment to let your child know that he's accomplishing something. So again, and at the end, you can say, good job, right? Oh, sorry. So, and this way to praise is also called PDA, and is a way to encourage children through what is called positive descriptive acknowledgement. I'm gonna just make sure of the time here to give enough time for you to ask some questions if needed. So again, when we think about this PDA or ways to praise children, another analogy that we can have is to look at an emotional account to your child. How many deposits you are making during the day? How many withdrawals? And the long-term investment that is going to be reflected in the self-esteem. So deposits are when you are being able to respond instead of reacting to your child, right? That you're not snapping in the freeway or in your house. You are being able to be aware that your energy might impact your child, and you don't want to create that adversity at the moment. And know that the positive is the quality time that you are spending with them, describing things, being consistent. That's one of the most important things. Having a structure, having a routine, being stable. All of that had to do with emotional deposits. And the withdrawals is like when we are reacting. Oh, I told you, right? This is the reactive part of us that sometimes will be translated in the mind of children about I'm not being accepted, I don't feel safe here, all of that, or rolling my eyes can be another withdrawal, not being consistent is another withdrawal, not being able to provide our children with guidance. So think about the long-term investment. What is it that you want for your children? So think about it. What components are good for building your child's self-esteem? Remember the analogy of the brain architecture, a strong house. So think about how are you helping your child to have a strong identity? How are you really helping your child to be respectful to others if we cannot even sometimes role model respect? Or they don't even know what is respect because we're not creating associations. So that's why the PDAs are so important, because when you're saying, oh, thank you for, when I say quiet, or when I say inside voice, or that is too loud, and you listen, that was so respectful to me, right? So we are giving them examples of respect, empathy, kindness, you name it. And that will build the confidence. They will become more appreciative. Oh, give me one moment, please, 1 second. I just noticed that for some reason, I don't know why my computer was not black. So one of those technical issues here. Thank you. 1 moment. Okay, here we go, back to power. So again, you want to think in terms of how can you demonstrate that you appreciate your child of who he is or she is in terms of the temperament, don't trying to fix it, but to really accept and provide guidance. Or their learning styles. Are they a visual learner, kinesthetical learner, an auditory learner? How can you support better the ways that they learn and to motivate them to learn, right? So here we go, we can practice for a moment, and I will try to go back to you. But for instance, if you have a child that is crying, what is the first thing that we usually say, right? Stop crying, don't cry. If you're not quiet, I'm not gonna listen to you, or one of those things. So the idea here is when we are having a child who is in distress and crying, here is the opportunity to start acknowledging, right? In a calm way, reflecting that calmness to say, oh, I see that really upsets you. Or, again, you're so angry that you're crying right now. So accept where your child is. Or if they're throwing, if they're hitting, just accept that at the moment they are experiencing an emotion that is not the emotion that you want them to have at the moment, but remember, they are in an emotional gym and they need to experience different things. So here we are to say, you are in a safe place, right? By describing the emotion, by naming that. And here, to says, I see that you're really upset. And whatever is the situation, for instance, if they don't want to share with the sister or the brother, or with a peer in the classroom. So to really acknowledge that, to say, oh, no wonder why you are so upset. You don't want to share your car with your sister. Of course, this car is so cool. Look at the tires. And you can even really pinpoint about the car and to say, but I have an idea. What about if you sit next to me, cry as long as you want. Take your time to cry. So instead of saying, don't cry, because imagine if I will come and say, don't cry, don't have those feelings, I am taking away the opportunity to exercise that emotional muscle. But if I say, take your time to cry, I am here to help, and I will make sure that you will have a turn. I'm gonna just wait another 3 minutes and I will tell your sister that it's time for you to have a turn. So again, there's many strategies in which we can give the sense of trust to children and the predictability, the consistency, so they can learn about it. Or for instance, a PDA when they're cleaning, or when they are listening to us, or when they're painting, anything that is related to any achievement, rather than saying good job, here is the practice, right? To say, thank you. When I said it's time to clean up, you went and put the things away. That was really helpful, or that was really respectful. Or, wow, I noticed that you put a lot of colors and circles and lines and the scribbling. Look at you, you're becoming so creative instead of the good job, right? So again, I'm trying just to give you some examples and we can talk about more about this, but I want to open the opportunity for questions, or if I am able to answer some of them. But I want to give you with this acronym that I love, and that is to support building the time with your child. And I love it, is being present. The ability to be present, especially nowadays that we are so engaged with devices, TV, you name it, your tablet, games. If you really want your child to learn to be respectful in a way that they interact with others, we need to role model that I am not codependent on this, that I can give you all my undivided attention. In fact, I invite you sometimes when we are giving this connection to children, well, not to children that sometimes they're not aware, but practice with your significant other. It is interesting to see that some people, when you are really looking at them and I'm listening here, they look at you like, is everything okay? Because we are not used to have someone looking at us, because we usually are like this. Oh, yes, I hear you. Oh, really? Wait, one second. Oh, what? And then here, we're not being able to be present. And children, the most dangerous thing, again, is the belief that they are forming about communicating, about being respectful, about connection. So if you want a child that is mindful, then we need to role model mindfulness. The U for understand your child. Understand your child's temperament, learning styles, ways to express. Again, you don't need to agree with them. It's a matter of just to accept who they are and include them. It's not about, oh, time out, and we're going to do it my way. And I say so, la chancla voladora, we say in the Latin community, right? It is more about including the child in the logical consequences. It's not about punishment, because children are learning about their limits, how to relate to others, about themselves. So why punish them instead of building time with them to include them and make them aware about their skills, their knowledge, their values, and their responsibility? What is the responsibility if they hit, if they throw, if they're not listening? We need to think about logical consequences. It's not about punishment. And the ability to listen and let your child lead. It is not about me as a parent or as an educator leading at all times the activity or the situation. How can you let them lead so they can feel the sense of belonging, the sense of contribution, the sense of adaptability, and finally delight your child? Here is the most important thing. We want children to fall in love with learning and with our dynamic. So that's my contribution to you. And I want to now go back to you to stop my screen here and to make sure that if you have any questions, that I will be happy to reflect with you. And before going to that, I want you to think about something. I don't know how many of you feel like participating through the chat, but I want to ask you something as an educator, as a parent, and it's the 2020 vision, right? We know that the 2020 vision is the vision that allows us to see clear. So think about it. Think about your child from 20 years from now. How do you see your child? And I'm not talking about knowledge and skills, because they will get it, easily through the experiences, but I'm talking about those values. What will be 5 values that you would like to see in your child? I don't know if someone feels putting some there, or it can be one, For instance, I will come out with one. I mean, I think it is so important. When I was raising my children that are now young adults, empathy was so important to me. Kindness, respect. What else? What else is there? I don't want to take all the values away from you, but anybody? Or if you don't feel like bringing them on, I wanted to make you aware of that. Because when you think about those values, if you're telling me, wow, no, I want my child to have confidence, self-esteem, to be independent, to go to college, to conquer anything that they want, to be happy. And yes, that is a goal. But the question is, do you have the foundation? Are you bringing bricks to that plan? What are the tools that you're taking with you at the moment to build their emotional intelligence, to be able to say, yes, I am that kind of parent. I am that kind of educator that I will contribute to their emotional account in a way that I know later on they will have confidence, they will be independent, they will be able to be happy. Because it's not about reacting to people, it's about responding and accepting that we live in a diverse world, especially nowadays. You know, we are living in a very diverse world. And it's not about you're better, that's better. You know, it's not about that. It's about being able to have a strong foundation of values to live in harmonious way, in a calmer way, not to react, but to really be present to each other in a way that we can demonstrate and exercise those values. So I want to open up, Teresa, for any questions, because I know it's 4:39 right now, and we are
Yeah,
about to close
I
this.
do have a question and two questions so far. And this actually could give some people time to put in some of those. Okay, oh, here it is. What is, and I hope I pronounce it correctly, what is kinesteric learner? Kinestherik learner. How do you pronounce that, Celina?
Kinesthetic learners, yeah.
Okay.
So those, thank you for asking about that. Those are children who learn through hands-on. Those are the children that constantly are moving. They want to touch everything. They want to smell it. They explore it in a very intense way. They are kinesthetic means to their ability to touch, the digital way to explore things. The visual is the one who learns usually by seeing things, and the auditory, the ones that is through listening. And we as adults, we have the same approach. Some of us here, we appreciate the visual cues. Some of us are more like, I can listen, but some of us, we need to have hands-on. That's me. If we were to be in another hour here, we wouldn't be only listening. We would be hands-on learning, doing something, because that's the best way to approach to learning.
Thank you. Okay, so I have from Ms. Martin. Hi, I've been trying to help my son self-regulate by starting by accepting and naming his feelings. However, most of the time he just screams back at me the opposite emotion. If I name his emotion as angry, he will yell back at me, no, I'm happy, repetitively. I'm not sure where to go without it becoming an argument. Do you have any suggestions for this?
Yes, let me just show you something here. I am again the visual. Some children, remember, if they are not auditory learners, or they're not, they don't take well the things verbally, they're going to yell back at you. They're going to, no, stop it. So here we go again, right? Now, there's a few things here. Uh, your child also can be holding some beliefs that you may want to work on it, transform his trust. But sometimes even as simple as this, I used to do this with children, that I will just say, no words, no sounds, just really being able to present something that And then you can present, right? Whenever you're ready, you know. And some children, even through that, they might be like, they will even throw the picture. That happens sometimes. But one thing, and I have worked with behavior for so many years, when you have a child reacting to anything, to the kinesthetic aspect, because sometimes talking about kinesthetic is really being able to give a child something to hold, right? Even as is a hold this pen, hold it, oh, squeeze it, even something like they can break, give them a little one of those sticks that they can break it, that they can really break it. Oh, yeah, break it. It feels good to break it, or a big pillow, squeeze it. Those are the kinesthetic. But if the child is not responding to any of that, this is when I look into that and I work with the family to say, your child needs more emotional deposits. He really needs to start believing that he is capable of whatever is missing, right? And it's not like you have been a bad parent, has nothing to do with that. It's about the communication. The child needs more information about his identity, about who he is. And once again, he starts listening to more evidence that he can be calm, respectful. Like you were saying, the opposite behaviors, then your child is going to start transforming the beliefs. Because think about this, I used to work with a school that the teachers and with many families too, that the child constantly hitting the brothers and anybody and throwing things. And we noticed that the child didn't believe that he could be that as young as a 3 or 4 year old. Why? Because they're constantly listening to, look at you, you're doing this again. Go to your room or do this, or the teacher, here we go again. You did it again, Teresa, here we go. Ay, ay, ay. So I'm already giving you all of these unconscious messages, sometimes what we call passive aggressive messages. But the brain, remember, is smarter. The brain already start collecting all of those beliefs. So I start putting, I am the bad guy, I am the bad child, I am that, I am. So we need to start transforming. I usually do in some workshops, I literally bring 2 cups of glass of water and one with clear water and the other one, if we put a little drop food coloring and we change the color, how many drops do you think that glass to change the color again to put it clear? Think about it, right? Sometimes, and we did it sometimes face to face. Guess what? Not even 10, not even 100 spoons. Sometimes you need to run the water for 1 or 2, 3 minutes to that glass of water to look transparent again. And that is exactly with behaviors. Sometimes as parents and teachers, we think, oh, I'm gonna tell my child, oh, you're being kind, oh, you're being respectful. And we expect that that is enough to start making or transforming the behavior. Doesn't work like that. We really need to bring a very strong, consistent way to deliver and transform the belief of the child. So I hope that an answer to you, but I will be more than happy to, if you connect me directly, I can give you more ideas because I want to be respectful of other questions, but there is a way to transform that. Hopefully that give you an idea.
Okay, and I think you kind of hit on it a bit, but I'm gonna still read the question. It's what can I do to help my 3 and 4-year-old stop hitting each other?
Right. It is kind of in the same direction,
Right.
Teresa. And this is building collaboration among them, respect and empathy. So the idea is to catch them doing the right thing. So I always tell parents, that your child wakes up in the morning hitting the other one right away, right? Good morning, and boom, No, there's a moment in which they are not hitting each other. That's what is called neutral time. And it sounds weird, but that's the time in which you want to bring the awareness to them to say, look at you guys, you're playing so respectful to each other right now. You're eating, or you are building your tower, you're playing with the car, and you're not hearing your brother. Let me tell you, a child that is already with an emotional charge will say, thank you for reminding me, and I'm gonna hit it right now again, boom, right? Because that's the belief that is there. And this is what is called the right doses at the right time. Don't be disappointed. Don't give up. Remember, is the water that is still with the dark color and we need to transform the color. I need to keep putting the doses. I remember another contributor to education, Dr. Ginot, who said, if we are sick and if we are taking any medication, sometimes we might take something that we need a little higher doses. Have you ever take a pill, to remove your headache and you says, oh, that was not enough, I need to take a second one, right? It's the same thing when it comes to behaviors and transforming a belief. One drop is not enough. We need to look at the doses and start transforming that. So I will recommend that you continue finding those moments in which your children are able to demonstrate that they are respectful, despite the fact that it makes sense to them at the moment. Remember, you're working with the foundation of the belief.
I like that one. Okay, we have, let's see here. As an early intervention specialist, I work with children ages 0 to 3 every day. Sometimes they would consistently throw toys in frustration. I explain to the children that it's okay to be frustrated and I continue to try the activity again. However, they still continue to throw the toys aggressively. Are there any suggestions that you have, Celina, and how to improve toy throwing?
Right. I think it comes to the same concept that I'm trying to share. Children, especially if they have a certain temperament, a certain background on their emotions, if they have not been able to express the feelings for a very long time because the parents didn't know how to support that, as an educator, you're going to have to deal with defiant behaviors, with challenging behaviors. And I will recommend the same thing. We need to start building. It's not going to be enough just to, at the moment that we are describing, toys are for building or things, or, you can play with these, are not for throwing. That is part of the process, but is not going to solve the issue, because the issue is not only that isolated situation. The issue is the beliefs. And here I will recommend that we need to work in collaboration with parents to create a partnership, because I can be working as the early childhood educator, but if I am not connecting with the mom in a way that I can make her aware about, how she can be accountable when I am not there, because you only come for 1 hour, probably once a week, and that's not enough time sometimes to transform the behavior. In fact, in this study, Dr. Ginot says that in order, well, as you even have heard, to change a habit, how many days takes? Anybody knows? It's said that it takes 21 days to change a habit, right? So it's the same thing. There is no way that we're going to be changing a behavior if we are not consistent. And that's the key. And unfortunately, yes, it will be more productive. I will say it will take less time if we have the parent collaboration. But even if we don't have the parent collaboration, we are still in mental health. They have demonstrated that in terms of the adverse child experiences, that if the child has a healthy provider facilitating ways in which the children can regulate and learn about themselves, eventually they will incorporate that. But we need to remember this, and this is disappointing. Sometimes the infant and toddler teacher will not be able to see the results. We are working to set up the foundation, and it might be until the kindergarten teacher or the first or third grade teacher. Do that, follow up your students, and you will be surprised that that teacher will really thank you enough, because in those years where the child is adjusting and adapting, they might not be able to demonstrate the behavior consistently, but you need to trust that the brain is incorporating knowledge, skills, and values. And as human beings, we learn through association, so we might access that later, not at that particular moment. And that's why it's so important. Don't give up, continue to just work on the process.
I think we have enough for one or two. And then if not, Celina, I'm not sure on your PowerPoint, did you have the information where they can reach you?
Yes.
Okay, we may
Also,
go
our
back
website
there in
is-
case people want to take a picture of it, or I can put it in a chat box. But
Okay.
here's a question. How can I get my 2.5-year-old to follow instructions? He will look at me straight in the face and do the opposite of what I ask of him.
He might be a kinesthetic learner or a visual learner. So sometimes it will be really helpful to have pictures. There is something that is called picture exchange communication. You can, I don't know if I write in my chat, if I can, it can be seen by everybody. Okay, let me
Is that
see.
called PEC?
PECS, yes.
Yeah, okay.
PECS, PECS, picture exchange communication system. You can Google it like that. And there's a lot of pictures and symbols that if you have them, or even better, you can print your own pictures with the routine of your child, and then any direction you may want to show into him visually. But I will also recommend, he might need more transitions. He might not, he might need to hear 5 minutes before you are expecting that he will complete that task. Or you may want to say, in 5 more minutes, we're going to go and clean, and give him the object for him to hold it. Or in 5 more minutes, we're going to leave the park, hold this item that reminds him that he needs to go back to the car. Same thing when a teacher is trying to bring the child from inside to the outdoor or the outdoor. Sometimes like, I'm going to count up to 10 and 1, 2, 3. Well, the child knows already that you're going to count up to 10 as parents as well. So they always will stretch those minutes, and it's not effective neither. So we need to be assertive to say, in 5 more minutes, we're going to come inside, hold this, please. You're going to be coloring. Or 5 more minutes, we're going to go outside. We're going to go to your grandmother, hold this. This reminds you that is your grandmother's house. Whatever is the transition, think about if your child needs to hold something, to see something, to smell, sometimes even adding into the smelling thing, or to listen to something. That is related to the learning styles, and is really effective to incorporate that as a strategy to deal with those behaviors.
Okay, and our last question is, can you give me some suggestions on how to discipline a misbehaving child? For example, what if he has a tantrum and hits mom? What if he throws toys at mom? What if everything is crying and hitting? Are timeouts still used?
Right. I don't want to sound repetitive, but again, I think that when a child is so frustrated, remember about upstairs brain and downstairs brain. To me, it's a child who already has a lot of emotional charge and is very dysregulated, and is not going to be able to perform or to follow up. So the very first thing is to work on his ability to regulate at the moment. So you may want to learn about what ways help him to soothe himself at the moment. Some children are so dysregulated that at the moment, nothing might work, and it might take longer time that you want, right? More than 15 minutes, 30. But once again, the child learns that you are providing a safe place for them to regulate, the brain will start making the association, oh, this is a safe place, because I'm not being judged of having this, I'm being accepted. So what happens sometimes too is, as parents, we are not realizing, but we are not creating that space. We are judging the child. Oh, look at how long it's taking. Calm down. So in reality, we're not providing a safe or showing our empathy completely. But when you are willing to spend that quality time to say, this is a safe place for you to cry, to throw things. Again, you're not going to be in agreement that he throws things, but I will recommend to, at that moment, says, ooh, even with more animated and intense way, to say, wow, look at you, you are even throwing toys at me, you're feeling like throwing things. Ouch, that really hurts, and I know that you're super angry, and here we go, we're gonna try to do this. Let's see if we can smell and blow and smell, and maybe he will not cooperate with that. Then try the balloon. Let's, in fact, literally have a balloon. This has been one of the most effective things. Have it in your pocket in a safe way, a real balloon, not only pretending balloon. And you said, balloon, are you okay? Yeah, my child is so upset right now. What can I tell him? And then you go, you know, the sound of the balloon, and you go, oh, that's too loud. He cannot hear. And then you start playing with that, redirecting the sound, the pitch of the balloon reminds them their own pitch of crying. And then you can say, okay, let me see if he can help you. And then you blow the balloon and say, could you please hold it? And you know, it's gonna go, because you're not tight in the balloon, it's gonna go, the balloon is gonna go all over. And then he will start, this is called redirection. We want him to just redirect his attention to something else at the moment, so he can calm down, for us to be able to reconnect with this part of the brain. But it's a lot to cover, and I would love to share more. Definitely, we can follow up with a second workshop with Teresa, right?
Yeah, we were thinking, yeah, in
We
the
can
fall,
make it
maybe
a
we'll have
practice.
a part two. We'll have a part two. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
just to remind everyone, we will have, this is being recorded. It will be uploaded on our website. If you've registered, a link will be sent to you. Excuse me, this motorcycle went down the street. And if like, again, if you have any friends or someone that wasn't able to make it, it will also be on our website. Oh, and Celina just put in her information here for Developing Mind Lives and the .parent. And there's the phone number there and her email address. If you want to take a moment and take a picture
Or
or
even
jot that down. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Celina. Everyone, please make sure to take care of yourself. Have a wonderful summer. And again, Family Focus Resource Center we're working remotely, but we are available for you to provide resources, more webinars, and we would like to hear from you also. On what type of presentations you would like to have. So let us know, and we will try to do our best to provide those. So thank you, everyone. And I'll talk to you soon, Celina. Okay, bye-bye.
Sure. Thank you for having me. Bye-bye. Thank you. Good luck to everyone. Thank you.
Recording. Stop recording.